Okay, this reason this generator safety switch I got surplus was so cheap is the probably got dropped or somebody used it. The boss that's on the back of the fuse panel here, the lugs had a crack in it, so this was just kind of flopping around. So I've done over here is I went through and put some double bubble Hardman epoxy down in here, and I actually went through then and put some JB Quick on here, which is like a 4-minute stuff. This stuff's actually pretty expensive. I've used this stuff for decades. You get a box of 100 of these things. Used to be 30 bucks back in the day. Probably about 100 to 150 for the mix this up real quick. It's an engineering grade epoxy. Anyways, so I've built this up. This goes into the transfer switch box, the aluminum box. And it worked. It's just that when you take the breaker out, it was kind of just flopping back a little bit here. So I've built this up a couple different layers, and it sagged kind of down. And then this little on here, I've gone through and ground this down. So what I've done here, let's just see if we can, I don't have a surface plate here, but I'm using the best thing, which is the floor. Put this on here, scoot it just a little bit. There's the high spot there. If you randomly turn this back and forth, you kind of take out the air. And there you go, taking a little bit off. Okay, here's the transfer switch. This is the set of lugs. There's the sheet metal screws that are in the case. And there's the repair. This really didn't have to be done, but it just was kind of bugging me. You pulled the breakers out, like what the heck is going on here? I got this thing for hardly anything. There's two different models on this. There's this is the 3028, and it's for 6,000 watts, I believe. And so it's got different amp meters on here compared to the ones that are for the smaller model. So they've got different sets of breakers. It's got the same set of lugs on here. And then the connector on this is for a 30 amp, and the other one is a 20 amp. So they change out this. They've got different amp meters on here, and then the set of breakers that are used. The feed on this one, it's got a pair of 30s on here. I think the other ones are 20s.